close was it in the summer? Was there anything there?
There you go. I didn't want to ask you. I wanted to lay off that. Tell him where to go, Ali. Just say thanks very much. No, you're all right.
This is Park the Bus with Stephen Caldwell, Kevin Kilbane and Luke Wileman.
Welcome into Graham Leggett's, where it's a little bit lonely this week.
Yeah.
Last week, 4 people in studio. We had Richie Larea here, and this week, no guest in studio. Ali Ahmed will join us, though, on the line. And no Stephen Caldwell either, who, rumour has it, has gone to London to get a haircut.
Well, we all know he needs that. I don't know what look he's going for at the moment, but yeah, it's sad to see him not in with us this week. I don't know what it is. It's I don't know. It's like we've lost something. We've lost something very big here. I think we've lost his presence, his leadership, captain's role. We haven't got him this week. I don't know. How's it going to work with us two?
I'm lost. There's no one to clean the boots, so my shoes are going to be dirty.
I was quite good at that, so I could do them for you anyway.
At least you're still here to make the tea.
Yeah.
You, this week, because Stevie wasn't here, had to do Stevie's race for the roster segment, which he says he doesn't like having to do it every week, but he really does, because he loves the attention of,
Absolutely.
Is he going to lock him in? Who's he going to drop? Well, you've just come in with an absolute sledgehammer to his 11.
Yes.
And have made changes in your 1 week in race for the roster. So.
Do you really believe what I've done is right, or what do you think? What are you thinking? So we clarify what we've done to start with.
Here's the other problem though this week. Before you're asking me a question, so now usually I can be the referee in the middle. I can sit on the fence. Now I'm gonna probably have to have an opinion this week beyond what I would usually want to have.
I've been working with you now 4 or 5 years at this stage, I think, Luke, and I've constantly said to you, you've got to provide an opinion at times. It's not constantly got to be sit on the fence, just get on with it. Because off screen, you've got a great opinion. You've got an opinion on a lot of things. Yeah.
Okay. So let's start. What you did is you took out Dane Sinclair and you put in Maxime Crepeau in goal.
Yeah.
You took out Nico Sigur, who Stevie has alongside Stefan Eustáquio in midfield. Yeah. And you put in Ismail Kone, purely because you saw him score a nice goal at the weekend against Sassuolo.
No, absolutely not, but go on.
And then up top, alongside Jonathan David, instead of Kyle Larin, who, after not playing since June, has come back now and is finally going again. Yeah. Right? You've taken him out, one of Canada's all-time leading scorers. Yes. And put in Tani Oluwaseyi. Yes. And then, finally, thankfully, you decided to lock in Tejon Buchanan, which has been a problem for me for a while. Yeah. And for Jesse Marsh, I think. When Jesse Marsh was on, he's like, Tejon Buchanan better be written in ink because otherwise we got trouble. Yeah. And Stevie still won't lock him in. Yes. So those are the three things you did in terms of the 11, and then you locked in Tejon Buchanan. Yes. So where do you want to start?
Let's go to goalkeeper. We'll start with the goalkeepers. Okay. This is the most probably divisive thing in Canada soccer right now, isn't it? It's something that everyone seems to be talking about. Who's it going to be? This has been going on now for a year. You know what I think of Crepeau, what I've thought about him for a long time. Regardless of his form at Portland and the way it's gone and him being out the side right now, I feel as though that Crepeau, not least that he's actually Canada's number 4, is it? Would he be James Pantemis, Canada's number 4, maybe even number 5, is ahead of him at his club right now as well.
I mean, that's just bizarre to start with.
It is bizarre to start with. But just on Crepeau himself, I think Crepeau being dropped by Jesse Marsh going into those Nations League games, because he was dropped for those Nations League games, wasn't he? We're going back, 8 months now or so at this stage. But when he dropped him for them, it's rare that a coach drops a player from the international setup on club form, because you would always think that the international coach goes with what with what's happened in the jersey, in the number 1 jersey, and how well he played at Copa and how well he had been playing prior to that. I felt as though he deserved his shot long term, but that wasn't to be. I still feel though, even when I seen Crepeau against Romania in the last window, Crepeau just steadies them, Luke. In my opinion, I think the back 4 perform better when Crepeau's behind them. I think the team perform better. I think he's a lot of a calmer influence on the team. And he made that big save in Romania as well when it was 1-0 and 2-0, and it could have been a different ending to that game if he didn't make it.
For someone who doesn't like goalkeepers, you'd like to talk about them an awful lot, don't you?
Do I?
Yeah.
Do I?
All the time. Well, all the time.
Because they make too many mistakes, that's why.
Okay.
Constant, yeah.
The one thing I would say about Maxime Crepeau and picking up on what you said about not dropping a player for club form, I think the knock-on of that could actually be something Jesse Marsh referenced when we chatted with him before that Romania game. And he wanted Maxime Crepeau to play the first game of the window Dane St. Clair to play the second, partly because of the way the games were going to go. He felt that both keeper was suited to the game they were going to play.
Yeah.
But also he felt that he wanted to get Maxime Crépeau straight in there to play that first game given his club situation. And he talked about the fact that he'd spoken to Maxime Crépeau about the need to make sure that he didn't let the club situation affect his form for Canada.
Yes.
Something which he felt maybe in training in a camp late last year when he'd lost his spot in the lineup. Maybe he was playing mind games with Maxime Crépeau. He wasn't the Maxime Crépeau that Jesse Marsch knew he could be.
Yes.
So that, I think, is the only time when you might say, well, club form can impact it, not just what you've done, because Jesse Marsch is seeing on a day-to-day basis that maybe a player's mindset isn't right because of their club situation.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
No, I agree with that. I do agree with that because it can have an influence.
And he said this time around it was completely different.
Yes.
Maxime Crépeau came in, you could not tell that he wasn't playing at club level. His mindset was right, and that's a huge part of it. Right?
Yeah, I know. But you still haven't offered an opinion as to whether I'm right or wrong.
It's Stephen Caldwell's race to the roster, and you've been substituted in this week.
But
it will not, and never has been, Luke Wileman's race to the roster.
No, but
no one cares whether I think Maxime Crépeau
on the podcast now, on the podcast, we need to have you and I need to have a debate on who we think is going to be number one.
Who? Tom McGill. Right?
Oh, what a cop-out. What a cop-out.
Bring back Milan Bojan.
Yeah.
No, what a legend he was, by the way. Loved his track pants. Nico Segur in the midfield.
Yeah.
I tend to side with you on this. I think Stevie's on the fence.
So you don't side with me on Crépeau then?
No, I'm not giving an opinion on.
Okay.
I'm not giving an opinion. With a son who is a goalkeeper, I'm too close to the goalkeeping fraternity to give an opinion on.
Eats you. Every time I slaughter goalkeepers, it does eat you, doesn't it? That's the thing.
Well, I slaughter them a few times as well, not on camera. And whenever I'm sitting at home, we'll be watching a game, and he'll be sitting there, and I'll go, oh, keeper. Or we'll be watching Sheffield United, and Michael Cooper. He's like, Dad, are you kidding me? You couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Do you know how difficult that was? Do you know that's ridiculous? Did you hit Kevin the other day? So I get it. Then I get it on your behalf.
On my behalf,
He goes at me.
Yeah, so Hudson, I love you, but I will continue to have my theme because goalkeepers have declined, in my opinion, since the Petr Cech and Peter Schmeichel, David Seaman, Shea Given, a friend of mine, these guys. The goalkeeper has been on the wane for a long time, yes.
OK, well, we got back to goalkeeper. See, again.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Right?
Let's go back to
Nico Segur.
Yeah.
Now, I like what I've seen from Nico Segur.
No, you can't not. You can't not like it.
I don't think he'll be playing right back because I think Alistair Johnston will come back and play right back in the World Cup. I don't know that he's going to start in midfield.
Yeah.
I think it could depend on the draw. And I think all this is somewhat futile in terms of the starting 11 for the opening game when we don't know who the opening game is going to be against. Yeah. So Stevie might have to backtrack a little bit when we find out who that opening opponent is when the draw comes in December. But I'm on your side there, taking out Segur. I'm not saying I think Kone is 100% the guy. You're ready to lock him in, according to Race for the Roster.
Yes.
He's definitely the most flamboyant in terms of making things happen, but I think it might come down to who plays alongside Eustachio in the midfield depends who the game is and what Jesse Marsch needs on that day. If
it is a game, you know, we will probably down the line talk about the draw that Canada's going to get, and it's going to be a difficult pot 2 side they're going to get, and you have to be honest here and say whoever's in pot 2 will want Canada above all other teams because they'll feel as though they can beat Canada. So whoever they get, I agree with what you're saying there, that personnel might have to change. And I still go back to the point is Johnny David could start up front as a 9 and you could play Ismail Kone as a 10 and have 2 solid midfielders by playing Segur, maybe even Soignier. Don't forget, we know Jesse Marsch and what he thinks of Mathieu Soignier alongside Eustachio. So that could be an option for him as well. But it looks like he will go with that 4-4-2 though, Luke. So that's why I think Kone can provide that bit of...
What you don't want to happen is what we saw against Croatia at the World Cup last time, where the midfield wasn't quite right. They got overrun in there by, well, an exceptional midfield that Croatia had that day. And that's why I think it might also come down to who the other side got, what the matchup's going to be. Can you afford to have Kone in there in terms of not having another maybe more defensive player?
Yeah, there's going to be a number of things here, Luke. I think we're going to look at further down the line, and we will continue to reference that Croatia game and how they were dominated. And Canada, when they were playing in that game, they didn't really, to me, when they played that match against Croatia, have a way to really hurt them when they won the ball back quickly. You know, because Jesse Marsch's system is set up to give opposition the ball and hit quickly on the counter-attack. And we know full well, we can actually picture it in our heads. We've seen them enough now to know what they're going to do when they win the ball back. Run forward as quickly as you can, pass forward as quickly as you can. Exciting football, in my opinion, I think it is. I love watching teams that play like that. So, with the heat in the US, or if they have to go into the US at certain times for a knockout game, there's a possibility for them. But with the games in Toronto and Vancouver, I think it might be a bit different where they can play with the four and they can play that system that gives up more possession, because they will play like that anyway. And it won't be that feeling of domination in the middle of the park. When I may even go back to when I was playing international football, Luke, and I've said it to you, if we didn't have a three-man midfield or one of our strikers that potentially would have become a 10 to have a 4-2-3-1 system almost, if you like, before it was actually called that, we get overrun by so many teams, so many top quality sides, like Croatia did to Canada in Qatar.
Yeah, and of course it doesn't have to be Kone alongside or Sigur. It could be Saliba, could still be Matthew Chouanier,
I never mentioned
right?
Him, yeah,
it could still be Matthew Chouanier as well.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, in Luke Wileman's race for the roster, we're waiting to see.
Right.
You know, that's why I don't do these things.
But you have to give an opinion. You have to give
all
an
right,
opinion.
see who they're playing against.
Of course, it's going to change.
Once the draw happens, I'll tell you.
Oh,
okay,
honestly.
You've only got 2 months to wait if you care. I do think that I would stick with Kyle Larin up top right now alongside Jonathan David.
Okay, why?
Just because of his body of work for the national team.
Yeah.
And the way that I know Jesse Marsch likes that partnership when it's working.
Yeah.
David and Larin, the strengths that Larin can bring, the fact he's coming back now. I want to see how he goes at club level. Can he get in amongst the goals? If we get to December time in the draw and he's still not scoring goals, he's still not playing regularly, then I'm looking towards Olu O'Shea, who has started well in La Liga.
Yeah.
I like his character. When he was on the pod here with us, he seems like he's not going to get affected by too high with the highs, too low with the lows. He seems like a good kind of mindset there. Promise David keeps on scoring, probably the best, most, in-form striker right now.
Yeah.
And it's almost unfair to say, can he do it again? Because he did it last year. And he scored in the Champions League, but it's just not quite there yet in terms of whether he's going to be in the 11. So you've gone with Olu O'Shea.
Right, and I'll tell you why I think this, right? If you're asking me an opinion on who I think's the best player, I would say Kyle Larin. I think he is the best player. But if you look at game time recently for Jesse Marsch and the goals that Kyle Larin has been producing for Jesse Marsch, he's not had a lot of starts. He's not been scoring a lot of goals for Canada. So if you're not scoring and you're not starting games, obviously, and contributing in different ways for Jesse Marsch, Kyle Larin is not going to be the striker that's going to continuously stretch opposition, that's going to run in behind, that's going to be working off the ball, that's going to bring that Syrian pace that both Promise David and Tani Oluwaseyi bring. So I feel Oluwaseyi.
Oluwaseyi, come on.
Yes, well, I've got a name that's been mispronounced my whole life.
Kilbane?
So I've got, everyone calls me Kilbane, don't they? So, and it's, so I've just got to go with it. I'll do my best. Sorry, Tani. Sorry, Tani. I'll call him Tani.
Just call him Tani.
Call him Tani. So,
maybe the Canadian Brazilian with just one name on the back of his jersey, the Tani, along with the Neymars and the Pelés.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get it right eventually. Can you not just put Tani on his jersey?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they should.
Yeah, sorry, I mean, you were saying that to me. Okay, yeah, I think if we have Tani, then I think it'll make it a lot.
You've already got the it's Tani time, right?
Can you imagine how many phone calls you're going to have by foreign journalists and broadcasters prior? How do you pronounce that name again? And they'll be writing it down phonetically. But so I'm going on the recent history. Kyle Larin's probably got 6 games? 6 games now to really prove himself. And I don't know if that's enough time now. Judging on what Jesse Marsch has done, if you're asking me personally, I'm not too sure that I would go with Tani anyway. But I think that's what Jesse Marsch is going to do. I think if he's going to go with a 4-4-2 system, opening game in Toronto right now, I think Tani starts.
And to be fair, the whole idea of this thing is not what you would do or what Stevie would do.
Yeah.
It's what you think Jesse Marsch would do.
Yes.
So, when you're having a go at Stevie, and I love you to disagree with him, and I like to disagree with him.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with Larin, though, alongside Jonathan David for now.
I like it.
Although I would have locked Buchanan in a long time ago like you did. So,
yeah.
I think I think probably there you've done okay. You've made an improvement to his starting 11. In the midfield, maybe you've got it right. You've locked in Buchanan. Not sure on the keeper yet. I'm reserving judgment. And then
2 right, 2 wrong. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying you've got it wrong in goal because I'm not having an opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to go there yet with the opinion.
Okay.
With the opinion on that.
So let's just go to Tejan then. I think he's going to be a starter.
Of course he is.
It's not even down to the fact is if the World Cup game was played tomorrow, he absolutely would start. We know there's a lot of football to be played between now and then, and we know what can happen and things like that. But Buchanan has consistently showed over the last 5 years in a Canada, since I've been watching 4 or 5 years that if he's at his best, he's going to start. And I believe he's at his best now, and I think he's going to take that forward to the World Cup. So, yeah, he's someone that I'm looking forward to watching.
Well, with everything you did on Race for the Roster, it means you're also playing Larea at left back, you're playing Davies on the left side of midfield, and with locking Buchanan in, that means today's guest, Ali Ahmed, won't be starting. So I look forward to telling him that when he joins us. Welcome to the show. You're not in the World Cup 11.
Yeah.
Ali Ahmed has been great. We'll talk to him about that and the Whitecaps and their form. That's coming up a little bit later on the show. What did you watch this weekend?
I've watched a lot. I watched the Premier League this weekend, actually, and I have been dipping in and out all... And, you know, I would always watch... Serie A seems to be my go-to league, and it always has been. I didn't really watch much this weekend, but I did see a lot of the highlights from Sassuolo, so I saw the beautiful goal by Kone. Yeah. But Premier League is what I watched this weekend. I watched... I'm trying to think the game on Saturday morning that I watched.
Must have been a good one.
Liverpool Crystal Palace. I watched that was the 3 o'clock UK time kickoff, so it was the 10 o'clock kickoff for us. And yeah, I watched Liverpool terrible. Oh, Luke, I'm serious now. And I can't believe they went so far clear because they haven't been playing well enough. Just the style of football. You know, we always go back to maybe Klopp when Klopp was manager there, and they had a clear identity on what they were going to do. We kind of knew what they were going to do every week, whether it worked or not every week, but we know what they were trying to do. Under Slot last season, I feel as though they had that to an extent as well. Different from Klopp, but very much...
They did just win the league.
Yeah, no, they were great. No, they were great. No, but what I'm saying, under Slot, it was different from Klopp, but it was a clear identity in what they were. I don't see Slot's clear identity at the moment. McAllister's not been at the form that we saw from him last season.
A lot of new players.
Yeah, a lot of new players. Wirtz, and I know I said it, but he hasn't gelled well into that Liverpool side just yet. At the weekend, Isak started, famously. So that's £250 million, $300 million or whatever it would be, on those two players. And they just, I don't know, Isak, you have to give him the time. It was his first start. And he had a couple of moments, actually, in the game where you're watching him going, yeah, it's going to come. But I don't know, Luke. I just don't know what's... just don't see it. I don't see it right now in how they're performing, even though they're top of the Premier League and they went 5 points clear before this weekend. But Palace were a real threat for them and they couldn't cope with them a lot of the time. So without Alisson, who made 3 top-class saves, who I think is a top-class goalkeeper, for the record. He did make 3 top-class saves, and he kept them in the game, and that's how it went for Liverpool, really, in the game. I
like Palace. I'm glad to see. I think they're third now after the weekend. At one point, they were second before. Watched a bit of Arsenal against Newcastle at the weekend.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw actually the start of that second half.
Set piece FC. Arsenal once again, but
they're unbelievable, aren't they? Like how they're playing and how football's gone. It's gone back a bit to your Sheffield United days. I'm going back to when I was a kid, watching Premier League when I was like say 14, 15, 16 when it first came out, and you know the famous Wimbledon sides, Sheffield United sides under Dave Bassett would have your 2 big strikers. They would go very long, play for corners, set pieces, win the games that way. That's what Arsenal are doing. I'm not saying that they're going long and playing a direct way like that, but their game is based on long throw-ins and set pieces. And it's amazing, really, how they're scoring goals and winning games at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Dave Bassett there, who is a name that most people probably will not know.
Yes. Former coach at Sheffield United.
It's one of my heroes.
Yeah.
Absolute legend. In fact, this week he came out and said, almost like modern-day football isn't great. I don't enjoy watching it anymore. It was much better back in the old days.
Yeah.
Hate VAR, like a load of different things.
Yeah.
And it was like Dave Bassett's sides were very much like hammer it forward. When Wimbledon had that great side, big strikers up top, knock it down, chase the ball, fight for it. But he was just one of the times have changed, right? Times have changed. Some people might say that I misspent my childhood, but I like to think it was just laying the groundwork for what was to come.
Yes.
And I would always write to managers. I was the kid who on the team was not really a particularly great player.
Yeah.
Right. I was a right back.
So we used to call you Clubman of the Year.
Right. Okay.
Yes. I know you are. Yeah.
I got an award.
Yeah.
I was a non-tackling right back with a good long throw. Right. That was me. I was a non-tackling right back with a good long throw.
Brilliant.
Okay?
Brilliant.
10, 11, 12 in my prime with that long throw.
You're taking long throws at 10 years of age?
Long throw for 10 years of age, down the line, right?
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
But that was my strength.
Yeah.
But my other strength was why I got Club Man of the Year is I would make a match day programme every week for the team and sell it for 50 pence and collect money. And I would photocopy the programme, I would get managers, I would talk to the coach and get his thoughts. And, like, it was a proper programme, right?
Yeah.
But it was black and white and whatever. So I would write to other managers and say, I do this programme, could you send me a copy of your programme and some autographs or whatever? And managers would write back. Like Neil Warnock would write back when he was the Scarborough manager, the old, when he was non-league, right?
Yeah.
Dave Bassett would always write back every time I got in touch with him. Now, when I was that kind of age and I would go on holiday, 17 years in a row, family went to Bournemouth for holiday, right? So we would always, and it was great because we would go, great place, but we would always go to watch a Bournemouth pre-season game. And some of them got, the one Bournemouth-Southampton was as close as I got ever to being in a fight at a football game. And we were only there on vacation and didn't even support either side. But Southampton and Bournemouth do not like each other.
Yeah.
There were a couple of other ones that got close as well. But, you know, when you go to the seaside in England, and no one will have any idea here, but you get a stick of rock.
Yeah.
Right? So a long sugary stick of candy.
Yes.
Right? And it has the name of the place in between. So you would always bring those back and give them to your friends.
Yeah.
Like, this is where I went on vacation. I would always bring a stick of rock back for Dave Bassett when he was the Sheffield United manager. Every single year, right?
And how old are you? You were 12?
Well,
maybe a bit younger, right?
I was born 78, and we're talking like late 80s, early 90s, right?
Yeah.
That was when Sheffield United got promoted 2 divisions in a row to the old Division 1.
Yeah.
So I would bring him a postcard and a stick of rock, right? And I did it maybe 3 years in a row, right? And he would always write back, handwritten note, thanks for the stick of rock, really enjoyed it. You know, just great guy, right?
Yes,
And it was just like, it's a completely different, and you know, I tell the story now to my kids, and like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why would you take a stick of rock back to the manager of your team or whatever? But it was just like, you know, that was the glory days. That's why, anyway.
Yeah.
So
I know, I'm with you.
Long way round to say that he was talking a little bit about the fact that the game has changed so much and isn't what it used to be like. But you mentioned that Wimbledon team, and you know they used to be a team who knew what they were good at.
Yeah.
They were a little bit nasty. Talk about someone like Vinnie Jones in the midfield who would get stuck in. And
John Fashion,
I don't know that that's coming back.
No, it's not. It's not.
But there are now, I think, teams showing different ways to try and win games.
It's the analysis that's going into games now and how goal-scoring opportunities come about and the importance of set pieces, which we all know. We've watched football our whole lives, so we know the importance of set pieces. But the importance now to the top teams, which they seem to really, I wouldn't say neglect it, but didn't really pay as much attention, judging from certainly when I played. If I'm talking about Arsene Wenger at Arsenal's team, even Alex Ferguson's teams, they were focusing more on what you were doing just in gameplay. That's what it seemed to me. Even the Chelsea sides. Maybe Chelsea under Mourinho were a bit different, I suppose. But definitely the focus now at the top sides, even Liverpool under Klopp, remember they had a set-piece coach. Obviously under Arteta at Arsenal now, they have become very much a set-piece side. And that's filtered its way back down to the Premier League, where Brentford and Aston Villa, Brighton, they have set-piece coaches. And I think probably virtually every team in the Premier League now will have a set-piece coach. And that's gone right across Europe as well, that all these sides, if I'm talking about the Red Bulls and talking about Atalanta, the very analytical sides that will be using the data analysis to get the best out of the teams, like most of them do now, but the ones that rely more so on that are doing it. And that's where Arsenal are at the stage now, yeah.
We've seen it with Canada as well. I think Jesse Marsch is now putting a big demand on his players to be better from set pieces, and we've seen that work more.
Absolutely,
I mean, there's only so much you can do when you come in a few weeks before Copa America.
Yeah.
You've got to sort all these things out, and you're playing against the Netherlands and you're playing against France. And as time has gone on, and it's not just Derek Cornelius smacking it into the top corner.
Yeah.
I think Canada of Jesse Marsch has stressed the importance of that.
Do you know, one thing I'm just going to say on that, Jesse Marsch coming in with little time to prepare his side. I saw an interview with Martin O'Neill, who was Ireland's manager this weekend, and Martin O'Neill said it's nonsense to suggest that an international coach can influence his players and work on a real tactical programme with only 2 or 3 days time on the training ground, on the field before they go out. And that's been disproved so many ways now, hasn't it, by different coaches. You need, obviously, a summer. You need a bit of a block of games or a block of time.
And I think, actually, that whatever happens at the World Cup next year, if there's success for this group of players under Jesse Marsch, you can go back to that time last summer when it was Copa America, and he had the 2 friendlies in Europe when he'd just come in, and then he had pretty much the whole of Copa America because they got all the way to the 3rd place game. And you're talking about 6-7 weeks with the same group of players right at the start of his tenure as the head coach.
Yes.
That never happens.
It doesn't happen. And it also goes back to, if you ever see international coaches going in, Luke, I think the best time for them to go in is towards the back end of a regular European season where they can have that summer, even if they're not in a competition and they've got friendlies, and they might get a 2 or 3 week period with a group of players. I think it's so important to have that, and Jesse had that with the time in Holland and in France before going over to Copa. Having that time with the players and that length of, or the day in, day out almost became a club side, didn't they, during that spell? And I think that's really important for the development of the side. And now, when they come in, everybody knows the role. Everybody knows how Jesse Marsch is working. And I think that is why the success has come for Jesse Marsch and the Canadian side, I tell
you what I watched Sunday, AC Milan against Napoli.
How was that?
And that was a pretty good game. It was a really good game, of course. Napoli are trying to be knocked off by AC Milan. AC Milan are at home. Christian Pulisic was incredible. Goal and an assist. He was, at his very best. We've seen him start the season in great form.
Why? I've watched a lot of Pulisic and I've seen. I've seen him play in the US side, and he hasn't played well at all for quite a number of games now. You've seen a lot of the US as well. What's happening with Christian Pulisic? Because
I mean, he's fit for a start. He's had a good run where he's been fit. He's settled. Yesterday, some of the wing play that he had was fantastic.
He didn't show up at the Gold Cup as well, don't forget. So this is,
and that's something that Maurizio Pochettino is working through and trying to get him back in. And there's a few players with the US right now that there are question marks about in terms of where Pochettino sees them fitting in. But if the US are playing and it's their best 11, Christian Pulisic has to be in it, 100%.
Definitely.
But it was a great game. AC Milan had a man sent off. Kevin De Bruyne playing for Napoli.
How was Scott McTominay, 18th best in the world?
Yeah, he was 18th best in the world. He was good.
Was he?
But it was just a great game. I found it really entertaining. Obviously, down to 10 men. Napoli were pushing near the end. You could just see the relief when it came to the end of the game, how much it meant to AC Milan, a man down, to be able to go and win that game, because it's still early in the season, but there are pivotal matches. A bit like we talked about the Arsenal game. That you felt that after Liverpool dropping points was a pivotal match. And then in the chase for the Serie A title, even though it's so early, it just felt like it was a bit of a pivotal match there between those. But Kevin De Bruyne was brought off, and he wasn't happy.
Was he not?
And you could see that he wasn't happy. And Antonio Conte said after the game,
that's 2 matches. He got subbed in the week last week, Champions League.
He said he needs to be unhappy with the fact that we're losing games, not the fact whether he's playing or not. So it'd be interesting to watch how that goes there with Kevin De Bruyne.
Conte's got a history, hasn't he, of upsetting people.
Did you ever get into it with a manager if you were brought off and you thought you shouldn't have been, or were you always
No, I didn't,
well-behaved?
Honestly. Yeah, I probably was. There's probably times you get substituted and you feel as though that you're having a spell and you feel as though you're doing well, but I honestly always felt there was a greater thing happening around the team at the time. There was more to it than just me. So I never had those tantrums. I was never that sort of lad. I didn't. No, you've just got to accept it, haven't you? You just get off and respect the player that's coming on. I would have always liked to have thought that I have a respect for teammates. So the guy that's coming on is not going to be helped by me going off having a strop or whatever it would be.
Yeah, that's true. Just before we get to Ali Ahmed. We've already mentioned Dave Bassett today, and with Stevie not here, it gives me the opportunity to talk more, and I'm going to get in two of my three managerial heroes. Last week we had Chris, or 2 weeks ago, when Alistair Johnston brought up Chris Wilder, he got a mention. We've ticked the box with Dave Bassett. I'm now going to mention Neil Warnock.
You've already mentioned Neil Warnock anyway. Do you know already in this podcast? You probably don't.
Did I?
You mentioned that when he was manager of Scarborough.
Oh, yeah,
you wrote to him. So
okay, well, there we go. We're going back there.
Yeah.
Because Matt Fitzpatrick, the Ryder Cup, of course.
Yes.
You're a bit of a golf fan,
I did. I didn't watch the Ryder Cup this weekend. I would have always watched it. But, yeah.
I am not a golf fan by any means, right? Hate it. Mainly because...
You don't like watching golf?
No.
Oh, come on.
A little while ago...
The Ryder Cup is...
Way back before I moved here, and that's like 20-something years, my cousin is actually the pro at Wynyard Golf Club in the Northeast, one of the big golf clubs.
I didn't live too far from there when I was up in the Northeast,
He got me some clubs, and I tried to play, and it made me angry. It just made me really, really angry. Now, there are a few things that make me angry, right? But golf is one of them, right? I go to the golf club.
You're Mr. Grumpy, aren't you?
I go to the golf club for the buffet or the breakfast. I like sitting at the golf club, looking out, nice view.
Cup of tea,
cup of tea, having breakfast, right? But the Ryder Cup. So Matt Fitzpatrick is a big Blades fan. Neil Warnock gave him a motivational message.
I saw it.
And played it to Matt Fitzpatrick, right? So I am saying that the Ryder Cup and the success of the Europeans is in some part down to one of the greatest living managers of all time, Neil Warnock, right?
Neil Warnock, Neil Warnock, well, he will definitely
take credit.
He will take a lot of credit. He'll tell everyone that Europe won the Ryder Cup solely down to him, not down to Shane Lowry knocking that 15-foot putt in, because obviously the Irishmen have got to carry the team right through to the win in the end.
Of course, it all comes back to the Irish. The one thing I would say to people is, if you have never heard of these people, Neil Warnock, when he was in non-league, he used to be a chiropodist, right, which is looking after people's feet. So as well as being the manager when he was in non-league at Scarborough, he would look after the players' feet. So they would all go into his office for a foot rub.
It's amazing. It's an amazing story with Warnock. I want a Warnock story because I think that Neil Warnock is someone that I always remember. Neil Warnock, I played against his side when he was manager of Bury. They were a championship club. I was at West Bromwich Albion, and he used to have a midfield player called Darren Bullock. Darren Bullock
played
was
for Barnsley
tough player in the middle of the park. Back in the old days of football when you could really kick the living daylights out of people. And during the game's going off, there was a bit of a 50-50 tackle or whatever it would be. Warnock's off the bench. I was a left winger, right on the touchline. Warnock gets off the bench, shouts, "Break his leg, bully!" Our manager was Ray Harford. Ray Harford loses the plot. Ray Harford, like, you can't say that. That's outrageous to shout for a player. And he was like, go on, Ray, whatever it was. That was Neil Warnock and his personality there. But you must have a Neil Warnock story.
I got a few, but for another, they take too long. He always used to listen, though. I'd be doing the local radio phone-in when he was the Sheffield United manager, and he'd be listening as he's driving home from the stadium. And a caller would come on and say something, or I'd say something, I'd get a text message, and it would be Neil Warnock. Why are you saying that for? This is like he would... And when it was an away game, back then, you couldn't obviously listen on your phone or anything to the radio. So Sharon, his wife
would listen,
he would have her tape the phone in. So she would sit there with the cassette and
She's probably on the phone with the phone.
No, she would tape it.
Right.
And then he would go home, and on a Sunday, he would sit and put the phone in on while he's having his Sunday lunch.
Oh, no.
So it would be a random 1 p.m. Sunday afternoon, and then I'd start getting the text messages. And he'd say, he came to me once on the Monday. I was there. It must have been a Tuesday game, so I'm waiting for him to come for the interviews. Oi, don't you ever make me choke on my Brussels sprouts again, right? And then he got into whatever it was that week that he was upset with me about and whatever. But, yeah, he was a great character. But I got back to the Ryder Cup. There was a lot of talk afterwards, especially from Rory McIlroy, about the way that the fans behaved. And the way that the fans were getting on at some of the players, and the abuse that they were giving the players. Did you ever get into it with any fans during your career? Was there anything... Because we've seen even recently your mate Roy Keane got into it with, even as a TV pundit in the parking lot. Did you ever...
In a word, yes. Yeah.
This is good.
No. When I signed for Sunderland, and I've said this before, I didn't play well, and the Sunderland fans didn't take to me. Probably didn't take to me during my whole time at Sunderland, right? So you'd be, there'd be 40-odd thousand at the Stadium of Light, and they weren't fans of me. I think that's safe to say. They weren't fans of me, largely down to my own performances and things like this. And it's a knock-on effect, then, isn't it? You're not doing what you should be doing. You're probably slightly nervous when you're playing, and you're trying to impress, trying too hard, and all those sort of things. So anyway, it went on over a period of time. Bearing in mind, we had 2 good seasons at Sunderland where we finished 7th in the Premier League twice, my first 2 seasons there at Sunderland. So everything went really well for the first, 18 months for the team on the pitch, but personally I wasn't performing. So we ended up then in a pre-season friendly in, it was either Belgium or Holland. I'm not too sure. It was a pre-season friendly. I was just back for pre-season. I think I would have had international games across the summer. So I was maybe a week or 2 late back. And I think it was actually my first game in pre-season. So anyway, we were playing. And there was a section of fans that were behind me just abusing me the whole game. Now, they were my own fans, the Sunderland supporters, abusing me and abusing me. This carried on through the whole game. So anyway, whatever I was doing, good, bad, indifferent, whatever it was, they just kept abusing me. Every time I was turning around, like, what's going on here? Like, whatever. It kept on and on and on. Turned out that they were actually, they'd come over with the mindset of actually just getting me that week, whatever it was that I was away. But anyway, that's fine. So the game went on. It got to the second half of the game, and I turned round and I stuck 2 fingers up at them.
During the game?
During the game, yeah. So they were abusing me that much. I turned around, stuck 2. Now, over here, it would be the same as the finger, wouldn't it? So the 2 fingers, I suppose, over there, it's basically just you. Do one, whatever. And the outrage it caused, Luke, it was...
Well, yeah.
Bearing in mind that they had abused me continuously through the whole game, telling me I was this, calling me this and that, whatever they were calling me. And I turned round, flicked the V's at them, the V sign to them, and they all tried to get onto the pitch.
Did they?
So they tried to get onto the pitch.
And this is a pre-season game?
This is a pre-season friendly. There was probably about 1,000 supporters that had travelled over from Sunderland to go and watch this pre-season game in Belgium or Holland. I'm not too sure where it was. Then anyway, Peter Reid's obviously seen what happened, who's the coach. Peter Reid takes me off immediately. Now, as I'm going off the field, one guy gets onto the pitch and he's sprinting across, and I think it was Big Niall Quinn or someone, whoever it would be, got hold of this guy to stop him coming over to punch me in the face, because that's what he was going to do. I just sat on the bench. I was gutted with what had happened. I was just like, I don't know where to go from this. I don't know how I can continue playing for Sunderland. But as I was leaving the ground then, after the game, there was like 30 of these fans waiting for me to get on the bus as I'm leaving the ground. I'm trying to get on the bus like I'm kind of being guided on. Bobby Saxton, our assistant coach, Adrian Heath was there as well. They're trying to get me onto the bus to leave the ground, and I've got these supporters that's just abusing me, trying to kill me as I'm getting onto the bus. So that was my abuse from supporters. That was crazy. That was my abuse from supporters when I was playing. Yeah.
My only disappointment about that situation, hearing about it, is that it wasn't in a day and age where there were cameras. Phones and people had got, presumably no photographer got a shot of you.
No, I don't think it was, because
if that happened now,
if it was in England, we were playing. It was a pre-season game. There would have obviously been a lot more photographers there, but it was a pre-season friendly.
Was it a thing then in the newspapers, or did it?
Massive in the newspapers. Yeah, that was it. How can I continue? Peter Reid had to make a statement afterwards on my behalf. I had to make a statement to say I apologise for what had happened, regardless of what had been said to me and the abuse that I'd received. So yeah, I did. There's another one, but I'll save the other one for another day.
No, go on. One more before we get Ali Ahmed.
One when I was playing for Coventry. Now, this was it was a bad one, actually, and I deserved it. I don't regret anything, my actions whatsoever, but I was playing for Coventry. It was my last club. I was probably finished, and I know I was finished in my career. I knew that, my legs are gone, and I was probably thinking of the end game. But anyway, we were playing at Crewe Alexandra. It was a league game right at the start of the season. We hadn't started well for Coventry. I was club captain. Anyway, we're playing the game and we're losing at Crewe. I think we're 1 or 2 down, whatever it will be. And the fans are getting on our backs a little bit. And I'm captain. I'm closest to the side. I think I was playing left back maybe, or I'd gone to left back because I was playing in midfield for them when I first went there. But anyway, what happened? I was very close to our supporters. And Coventry's a big club, and we had a big fan base that had come to Crewe. Wasn't too far for them to travel. So we probably would have had about 3,000 or 4,000 that filled one side of the field. So they're all abusing us. They're abusing our guys, whatever it would be. And it probably needs to be said, so I'll say it as it was. Now, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it was actually, it really upset me at the time. I have a daughter with Down syndrome, and someone shouted out from the crowd, "You deserve to have a daughter with Down syndrome." And honestly, I turned to the crowd. You're shocked.
I don't believe that.
I laughed. Yeah, someone shouted at me. So I was very close. I was about to take a throw in, and I turned round and I saw the guy that did it to me, and I looked him cleanly in the eye, and I said, "Look," I told him to F off. I said, if you want me, come over the other side and I'll talk to you. So the crowd saw me turning and reacting.
One of your own fans?
One of my own fans. So the crowd turned to me and one of the crowds turned to me and went crazy at me because they only saw me abusing this guy. Yeah. So anyway, this became a bit of a story. It did actually come out what was said, but it never really happened. And it was probably one of my last games for Coventry. I didn't really play much after that. I retired probably a month or two later after that had happened. But that was an incident where you see fans for what they are at times, or certain fans. I'm not saying, I definitely wouldn't categorise Coventry City fans as that. That was one guy who deserved to get it back from me, and I didn't stop at just telling him to F off. I slaughtered him when I heard him said. So that was another one that probably needs to be said. That's a sort of a level of abuse that some supporters think they can take it to. And
I don't think that's. I think that still happens these days.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like that,
if you look at Rory McIlroy in the Ryder Cup this weekend, apparently it was very personal, the abuse that he was getting this weekend as well. So it's hard.
But that was from the other fans. You've given the two examples you gave.
Yeah, from my own fans. Yeah, that was right. Yeah, that's not a good thing, is it? That's not a good sign, is it?
Oh, good stuff. Well, we've had some great guests the last few weeks. Richie Laryea was in studio last week and then went on to play against Lionel Messi at the weekend on MLS on TSN.
And he got an assist.
And we'd almost predicted that he would get into it with Luis Suarez, and I think it was like 26th minute or 29th minute when I was saying on the call, well, here comes the referee having to split up Richie Laryea and Luis Suarez. So it did happen, did happen, but in the end, everybody stayed on the pitch, but it was a good afternoon, actually, at BMO Field. The Whitecaps came back, got a good result, and still going for the Supporters' Shield right now.
Yeah.
And someone who's been so good for them is Ali Ahmed, for the Whitecaps, for Canada as well, and great that he's going to join us on the pod this week.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, last week on Park the Bus, we were joined in studio by Richie Laryea, and another Canadian international who plays for an MLS team in this country is with us this week, Ali Ahmed. Ali, great to see you. Thanks for being with us today. How are you?
Good, man. Thank you guys for having me. Pleasure to be here and have a quick chat with you guys.
First of all,
he sounds excited to come on there, Ali. You don't have to sound excited talking to us guys, you know.
Hey, listen, the one thing I would say is congrats on the Cascadia Cup win at the weekend with the game against Seattle and locking up that top 4 spot. We've had various different guests. Last week it was Richie who was actually in the studio, of course, being here in Toronto. Alistair Johnston joined us from his house in Glasgow.
Yeah.
When it was Juve and Jonathan David, he had the big Juve backdrop behind him. And look at the way Ali is right now. Nathan Vanstone has done it properly here with the Whitecap stuff in behind Ali. There was one of your Canadian international teammates who, as we were trying to start the chat, was quickly clearing up dishes in his sink behind that were dirty dishes that were there. And I'll let you try and we won't out him on the podcast.
Well, I think we did last week though, didn't we? We've already outed him.
Oh, okay. Anyway, that was promised, David. Anyway, Ali, how's it going for you right now? I mean, you must be so close to a World Cup, playing well for your club, up at the top of the Supporters' Shield standings. In the manager's mind with Jesse Marsch loving your performance, his first international goal. It's a bit of a dream world, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been fun. I think overall, not even just this period, I think overall the year has been, I think solid. We've been in the Canadian Championship. We're going for the Canadian Championship on Wednesday for the 4th time. I got to experience being in the final, in the CONCACAF Champions League. We're playing good football, just enjoying the time here, the system. And even with Canada too, it's been solid for me. I think it's been good. Right now we're top of the West. It's almost playoff time, the best time of the year. Everything we've been working for all year, it's that time. And I think, we all know that we have a great shot this year at, winning the MLS Cup. And it's our 3rd year together with the core, and this is the last 2 years. This is what we've been working for. So, it's the best time of the year right now. We're all excited right now.
Just on that comment you said there on it's what you've been working for the last few years. We've watched you, Ali, personally, and we've watched the team develop with the Whitecaps over the last couple of years. Do you feel as though that last season and maybe even the season before, the way that the season panned out and the way that the playoffs panned out for you, do you feel as though that it was something missed, considering the quality that you had in amongst that Whitecaps setup?
Yeah, I think we almost needed that. We're a group that's fairly inexperienced. You know what I mean? We haven't, been to the playoffs. Deep into the playoffs. A lot of young guys. Pedro, myself, Sebastian. We didn't have that experience of going deep in the playoffs, and I think now 2 years in, I think we know what it takes, to win in the playoffs, and now we just added somebody, who's won at the highest levels, and we got one of our best players coming back in Ryan Gauld, so I think, and then everything that's happened this year. From reaching the finals of the Champions League, I think we got this belief and this swagger to us that we can do it. We're gonna go far in the playoffs.
You mentioned the addition of someone who's won it all. Of course, Thomas Mller comes in and has already made such a big impact on the pitch. But twofold question. But first off, I want to ask you, the first moment you heard that Thomas Mller coming to Vancouver could be something that actually might happen, what were you thinking? What was going through your mind that someone like him would be a teammate, not just someone you watch on the TV performing in the biggest games?
Yeah, I probably heard it like you guys heard it, or anybody outside heard it, and to be honest, I didn't really believe it was gonna happen. Honestly, just seeing us connected to a player like that, even a rumor like that, it was fun to see, but didn't really think that it was gonna pan out and really happen. But when things were heating up, it was like, oh shoot, it might really happen, and then you get all these ideas in your head, and it's been fun. It's been fun since he's come over here.
It's a good thing you didn't have to give your number away like Ralph Priso did. Otherwise, it would have been you in the lederhosen that Thomas Miller had. Would you look good in a pair of lederhosen?
Nah, that's not for me. I don't think I would look good in that. I don't think I would look good in that.
Oh, but Ralph pulled it off pretty well. And but
he pulled it off very well, actually, very well.
It gives an indication, though, for everybody who's outside about the fact that, it's one of the things we've talked about, Thomas Muller's impact off the pitch as well. Yeah. He just seems like a normal guy. For everything he's won, he's just come in there and is like one of the guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's fit in so well. He's fit in so well to this group. He's a guy who loves to joke around, loves to laugh off the field. He gets along with everybody in the group. He loves to talk. He loves to, have a good conversation with everybody. And, he's pretty funny for sure. But when you get on the field, it's the opposite. It's serious time.
Is there something you've already learned from him in terms of the way that, he trains as well, not just in game? Because one of the things we talked about when he came in was this is, especially in a World Cup year, you look at the young Canadians, and you're one of them, who Thomas Mller could actually have a positive impact on Canadian players leading up to this World Cup.
Yeah, like I said, the way he trains, once he hops on the pitch and he's on the pitch, it's the standard he sets. He's never switched off. He's always switched on, always thinking, always talking, never going through the motion, does everything at a high level, everything at a high level, everything at a high level. And like I said, he's always switched on.
What in terms for you personally then, Ali, he seems to make his runs over to the left-hand side when we've been watching him. He plays as a 10. So there is a lot of connection between you and Mller on that left-hand side of the pitch. How have you felt he's developed your game? Do you feel he's given you anything different in the last few weeks since he's been part of the squad?
Yeah, like he's a player. He knows the game. He really knows the game, and he's playing on the left side. He plays as a 10, but he drifts, like you said, to the left side a lot. The coach, likes what me and him, the chemistry we have together, and I think I just move off of him, and he knows my strength, and he tries to get me into my moments where I can use my strength, and then obviously vice versa. I know what he's capable of doing, so I try and find him where he can be dangerous, and I think one area that he's maybe talked more than others is off the ball, pressing or defending, when we lose the ball, and just to be similar to Jesse, to you lose the ball and you react and you go get the ball back, and just the structure, talking to us, and not even just myself, but everybody, just making sure we're in sync.
6 months ago, if I'd told you would be doing an interview talking about how the coach likes your chemistry with Thomas Mller, you might not have believed it.
No, I wouldn't. But football moves fast. Football. I've learned that it moves fast. So maybe I would have believed you.
Yeah.
But definitely, I was probably not.
Yeah. Do you know what, Ali? You've taken a very unconventional journey, if you like. Did I use the word journey then? I'm not too sure. I don't like using that word, but but it has been very unconventional, your development in terms of where you've been and what you've tried doing before actually getting into the Whitecaps setup. Can you just give us a little backstory on your development to where you are today? Because we've only seen you on the field in the last 2 or 3 seasons, and we've seen how you've developed in your growth. Can you just give us a little bit of background on what you had to do to get back into the Whitecaps setup?
Yeah, obviously born and raised and grew up in the Toronto soccer system, and there's a lot of talent in that city, a lot of talent in Toronto, and the famous quote Alistair hit with you guys about Toronto FC's development program being maybe needing to be studied, but I didn't get the chance to play for that academy, but still was a big fan of Toronto FC growing up in that city. But yeah, I had to go overseas and try things there, in Portugal, England, and Holland, Spain. But luckily, one of my coaches from Toronto knew Steve Medley from here, my guy. He gave me a shot, and that's how my Whitecaps journey started back in 2019, when I came here with the U19 team for a bit, and later transferred over to the second team. And then I got a year with the second team in 2022 with Vanny, and then he brought me over to the first team. So I've been with first team since 2023, and I think honestly though, I think this year has been probably my first year, I think, that I've really had a defined role with the team. I think the previous 2 years I was switching positions, just trying to find anywhere in the pitch and do whatever I can to help the team. But I think this year, with Jesper coming in with his ideas, he saw me in one place and one position, and I think that's helped me this year for sure. Staying in that one position and being in the same spot with the national team. So it's helped me a lot this year, being in that one role, opposed to being that Swiss Army knife. And I'm definitely enjoying it this year, and I think still more to come. Even though I'm not a young player, I don't think I am anymore. But I don't think I'm also a finished product just yet. But I think it's been good this year, with my development.
It seems as if you also fit in right now to what Jesse Marsch wants as well. And how much confidence does that give you, that the national team head coach is so vocal about the fact that you are what he wants in terms of the way that he wants to play the game? It seems like a really good fit between you and Jesse Marsch's style.
It's definitely huge, for the mental side of things, when your national team coaches, and the whole staff support you and really trust you, and want you, on the team, and believe in me. And I try and bring that over here. That's that confidence, and it's huge for sure. I think his style, his idea definitely complements my strength, and anytime the camps, and anytime I get the chance to go and continue to prove and show him that that I belong, I try and do that.
Just something that you've mentioned yourself, I think, Ali, in the last couple of years, as well as about your end products. Now, this season, your numbers are way higher. We always use the expected goals and expected assists, and you're right at the top of that sort of bracket as well, expected assists. What have you changed? And I know you've mentioned there about maybe being the one position's probably helped you. But how have you refocused maybe across the off-season last year and come back this year to really have a set way on how you're actually going to try and improve your numbers and improve that end product?
Just watching, film, watching videos, and then also getting on the pitch and just, working, getting reps and reps and reps. And, I think watching the film and videos, just really seeing...
What have you watched your own game or watching other people's games?
Watching back my own games, watching back my own games, and obviously, of course, watching other games too, seeing players in the similar positions, and I think, the opportunities were there for me, even though the previous 2 years I wasn't in a maybe higher role, but the opportunities were there for me to still have, a high number in the end products, but I think this year just, not thinking too much and just slowing down when I get to the end product areas. I feel like things before that I do well, do at a good level, and then maybe when I get to the higher ends of the pitch, just try and bring that same same confidence and mental approach, and just slow down and not be afraid to if it doesn't go well, not let that deter me from coming and trying again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, a wide man. I was a wide man myself, and you're going to have spells out the game, and that's the thing. It's almost about when you get your opportunities, you've got to be almost as clinical as you can be when you might get that one or two chance a half, Ali. I think that's been really interesting watching you. I think certainly this season, whether or not the chances have been scored that you've created, but your numbers seem to be so high in what you're doing. Has Jesse Marsh worked on that with her, or has it been Jesper Sorensen? Who could you put down that to as well in terms of coaching that's aided you there?
I'll say a bit of both in terms of, maybe talking to Jesper. I think maybe Jesper a little bit more in terms of the end product things.
Yeah.
Even from the get-go, from January when he came, that's one of the first things we talked about. He told me, like, listen, I see everything you do, and I know there's been some talk about the finished product, the end product, and getting your assists and goals, but he told me we're gonna work on it, and he said he really believes and has full faith in me, and that I can easily, put up numbers that I could be putting up with amongst the best. And still to this day, we still talk about it. We still work on it at the training ground after training. This year, another thing, I probably put in more work after training here with the coaching staff here than I have the previous 2 years. So yeah, probably more over here.
Well, Kev was a winger back in the days when they didn't actually have to press.
Yeah.
Which is why you got to take time off.
We didn't have to run back. We didn't have to run back.
Didn't have to run back. Didn't have to press. Just stood there, and every now and again you'd go down the line, little bit of a try and get across.
Yeah.
Different world now, though, isn't it, Ali? Especially with Jesse and the way that everyone has those responsibilities. You have to do exactly what everyone has to press together. Everyone has to be dialed in all the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing for sure. I think you can't be too selfish, and a player like me, I feel like I try and help the team more times than not. Think about the team. Could be a problem. You can say, if you want to just get your stats up, but like you said, Luke, you gotta press, you gotta repress, you gotta make sure you're in the right positions when pressing, and all that defensive work. And I'm a player that I wouldn't mind to do that for the to win. I want to win. I'm a competitor, even if I have to maybe sacrifice a little of my stats. But as long as I'm winning, it's fine. I'll give you I don't want to be too arrogant, but I don't think I've lost in MLS this year.
We didn't know that.
No, if that's an actual fact, then it's certainly not arrogance, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just like to win.
That's amazing. No, can I say to you as well, just on terms of your development as well, your physical development as well, Ali, you look to me like you've grown a little bit. That naturally comes, of course, with age and, spending more time in the gym. Is it something you specifically decided to work more on as well, or you've maybe worked with your S&C people over there in Vancouver?
Yeah, for sure. No, I've been hearing it every day, every week that I need to bulk up, and that's probably one of the things Jesse has probably told me and wanted to see from me is probably to that power, that strength, that explosiveness, and obviously myself just seeing the demand in the league for a full year. Your body is so important that you need to protect yourself. So definitely been an area of emphasis for me, and I still think I need a little bit more, and I think I'm gonna see a little more in the next few months, hopefully.
Well, it seems to me like he should be the first name down on the team sheet. You've not lost in Major League Soccer this year, so, I mean, obviously, if you're the coach, it's back end of the season, a little bit of superstition, every single game, first name down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be that way, hasn't it, to end the season, surely?
You talked about your unconventional route to get to where you are and your time in Europe before. During the last transfer window in the summer, there was some speculation you were being linked with a move to Europe. Is that something that is on your radar? Is that the eventual dream?
For sure. You don't want to sell yourself short. So of course, I would love to play at the highest level of this game, and it's definitely still a dream of mine, of course. And I think for now though, extremely locked in and trying to win this. This MLS Cup. And then, I think we can see what happens from there and where we go from there.
It's always a difficult question to answer, isn't it? When you're in a play, you're in the Whitecaps, but I know it's something that you want to. I know it's a hard one for players. And Luke always says, Luke slaughters us. We ask the questions. When we were in your position, we would have batted that off totally. We wouldn't have answered that. Wouldn't have gone near it. Yeah. But it's got to be some. It has to be something. I think for everyone when you've got those dreams, and I think it's almost like a club responsibility to support those dreams as well. That they aid you to go where you need to go in your career as well. And it does seem like the Whitecaps is a perfect environment, I think, for the players in terms of, development and where they see their own players and that development they've put into the player as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How close was it in the summer? Was there anything there?
There you go. I didn't want to ask you. I wanted to lay off that. Tell him where to go, Ali. Just say thanks very much. No, you're all right.
What would you have said, Kevin?
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
I just said, no, I'm fully concentrated on Vancouver Whitecaps right now. I'm just going into the playoffs now. I'm looking forward to that. We'll see what happens in the future. That's how I would answer that question.
I'm going to win an MLS Cup first, and then we'll talk about it.
Win an MLS Cup is right, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully we stay undefeated until the MLS Cup.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, if you start every game, then you certainly will be. Nothing better than that.
You know what? Every week we get the guys on as well, Ali, and Luke is great at asking the questions and really painting a big picture. But I'm going to do it for Luke this week and see if I can do it. Look, we've spoken about your unconventional route and where you've been and everything that's gone on in your career to get to the stage you're at. Now you're on the verge of a home World Cup in your home city opening up in Toronto. How does that feel for you when you've got, and you have now really progressed to be one of the leaders within Jesse Marsch's squad and roster there? How does it feel and how much optimism and excitement is there?
It's crazy. It's crazy to think. Thinking about even participating in a World Cup and then let alone the first game, for me, growing up in Toronto, it's going to be home at BMO Field, walking out. It's going to be unbelievable. And I can't lie, I definitely think about it a lot. You think about, you get pictures in your head, and I wish it was next week. But we gotta wait, and it's crazy to think, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait.
Thank you for being honest, because there are so many players that have been on who we talk about this, and Jonathan David's like, I never think about the World Cup. No, I've not thought about it for about 6 weeks.
But that's Johnny,
day by day.
I could believe him, though. It's Johnny.
Yeah.
I could believe him.
We've touched on so much so far, but we haven't even mentioned about that last camp and the Romania game, the goal, the assist. I mean, to score for your country, get your first international goal, the way you played that day as well, that must be one of those moments that he's just going to... You look back and think about some landmark career moments, and that's going to be one, isn't it, forever?
Yeah, for sure. My first goal, definitely will never forget about that. Although it was not the greatest goal. The way we play, I think it might be it might be highlighted in a lot of film reviews. So
I think it's Jesse Marsh's favourite goal. I think that's what it will come down to.
Well, this is the thing. You know, when that draw comes in December and all the opposition managers are looking at Canada, they're playing your goal there in Romania to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. No, so never mind. It might be a goal that we all remember, right?
Yeah.
But not. I'll never forget that goal in that game. First win in 16 years. A set piece assist. It was a good game for us. I think it was really important for us. Maybe with the way things happened in the summer, to bounce back like that. I think we needed that. For our group, mentally, and I think now we're at a good place. After the successful camp we had in September, and I think we gotta look to build off of that, and in October, and to continue the upward movement.
It's easy to forget, isn't it, that you weren't selected in Jesse Marsh's first squad when he first announced the squad, Ali, and considering the rise of you and how much now, and what Luke's touched on before, what Jesse Marsh actually feels about you, and how the trust that he's put in you. After the summer and what happened at the Gold Cup now, how do you feel your game is with Jesse, and where do you feel as though that you can take it within this setup? How do you feel around everything?
Yeah, like you said, a lot of people may not remember that the first go around I wasn't selected, and I think about it sometimes. Maybe that helped me, help ignite me, and to get, whenever I get my chance again, to get going, and bring that motivation with me every time I'm there. And I think now I think just understanding my role with the team, and when I'm starting with the 11, just understanding what the team needs, and how I can help the team, and just like I said, just understanding my role. Like maybe I might need to do extra running than the guy next to me, or maybe I need to bring the intensity in it, and work extra harder than, whoever, So I think just understand my role is what helped me a lot.
I mean, Ali, 12 starts now since Copa America, as I said, just off the back of that first announcement when he names got 12 starts. And something you said earlier on about the numbers. So often we will talk about wide players and strikers, numbers, it's about goals, assists. And you said before about it isn't necessarily always around that. And it's something I totally agree with, that so many players now are solely judged on how many goals and assists that they're going to have across the course of a season. Yes, it helps, but there's so many clear aspects, and you're probably the prime example of that, Ali, and how you can actually, almost change your game to suit what's required of you, and that's an amazing attribute in itself that you've got.
Yeah, like you said, like I feel like there's, I've had this conversation with some of my teammates too, like, I feel like there's so many ways to impact the game and influence the game, for your team to win. Not just assistant goals. Of course, assistant goals are great for sure, and they're big for sure. But, I was telling my teammate the other day, like, I rather have, instead of 1 goal, 1 assist, I rather have a complete game and maybe 1 goal or maybe 1 assist. And I think, one of my better games this year at home was against Philadelphia, I think. In the 7-0 we win, but I only come out with 1 assist. And if you just looking at the stat, you're gonna see maybe, okay, I had an okay game, but the eye test is different, and the impact and the influence, there's so many different ways, to impact the game, and I enjoy that. Like, I rather have a complete game in all ways and all aspects of the game, than maybe just 1 assist and not have a great game,
Yeah, it was a standout performance. You missed a chance in that game, Ali, I remember as well. We were
on,
covering
Kev.
that. I've got to mention things, haven't you? Here and there. But no, I've killed you there.
Good
but
one,
no,
good
that
one,
was. We did the game, Ali, and
Yeah,
it was a standout team performance. It was, but you individually was almost the guy that got Vancouver going that day. We all felt that, and you were calling the game, Luke, weren't you?
Yep. Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Ali, we appreciate you taking the time out to join us, and bringing the stats as well. The fact that he's not lost an MLS now.
I know,
we'll be watching that one
Thank
between
you.
now and the
You
end
guys
of
are
the
going to
season.
milk that, huh?
Hey, I like that one. All the
have
best.
said that.
All the best with the rest of the season. Lots still out there for the Whitecaps to achieve this year. And of course, with Canada as well, we'll look forward to
And the
watching
Canadian
you.
Championship this week as well. So
Absolutely.
yeah, good luck.
Thanks, Ali. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me.
Well, huge thanks to Ali Ahmed for coming on the show today.
Yeah,
the
great.
Whitecaps for setting that up as well. I have to say, they are always a pleasure to work with. They are an absolute gold standard in terms of the way that they look after everyone, tell the stories of the club, help out the media as well. So great to hear from Ali Ahmed. And I love that I don't want to be arrogant, but I haven't lost an MLS this season.
I can't believe we didn't know that one.
That's a great line.
It's an amazing line, and it's an amazing stat, really, when you have that much success. It is great. But I'll give one caution. When I was coming to the end of my career, Luke, I hadn't really had success in terms of winning trophies, and I wanted to win something. And I got offered a loan move to go to Huddersfield Town in League One.
Yep.
And they were right at the top of League One. And I want to win something, so I'm going to go and have a loan move to Huddersfield Town. I never lost one game. When I signed in the league, we remained unbeaten across the course of that season. Got to the playoffs. We beat Bournemouth in the playoff semi-final. Got to the final against Peterborough. And what was the only game that we lost?
The playoff final?
Playoff final against Peterborough. So I don't want to kill him in that one in saying that. So he's got to maintain that now by making a statement. He's got to go all the way to the MLS Cup.
Was that Wembley?
No, it wasn't at Wembley, and
it
would have been my only. No, it would have been my only chance to play at Wembley. But it was a Champions League final. I think it was the Man United. No, not Man United. It was Barcelona. I think Barcelona were playing. I don't know. I can't remember. It was a Wembley playoff Champions League final. Why we couldn't play it, and we played at Old Trafford. And I played at Old Trafford about 20 times. I didn't want to play at Old Trafford. I wanted to play at Wembley. Anyway,
there used to be good days. The playoffs at Wembley, and also when Wembley was being renovated, the playoffs were in Cardiff.
Yeah,
the Millennium Stadium there as well. But I didn't realise that they'd taken that one to Old Trafford. So the one game you lost was the only one that really actually mattered.
That mattered was the playoff final. Yeah, incredible.
You know what I like about these guys, and we've had the pleasure and privilege to talk to a lot of them now. They just seem like genuinely good guys.
Yeah.
Ali Ahmed today, you get the impression that this is a team and a group of players led by Jesse Marsch that not only like being with each other.
Yeah.
But also, I think the country could fall in love with and enjoy when they get to know them and get to watch them this coming summer.
There's personality there as well. You can even see, the guys when they're in interviews, and I was the same, and we're all the same. When you sat one side of the camera and one side of the microphone, and someone else, and we're wooden.
And that's exactly, and you've improved a little bit over the years. The one thing that really irritates me is when you now get these guys who were the worst interviewees, or who would just say no, or just walk past you and not even... And now you see them in a media career.
Yeah, I would never have walked by it. I never would have walked by it.
No, you just said hi.
I would have always tried to have been open enough, but when you're getting asked that type of question, we're asking Ali Ahmed there, where do you see your future? What do you want to do? And you're trying to bat it off, but knowing in the back of your head, well, I had an offer from such a club in the summer, and I could have gone here, and I may have gone there, but you just can't say it, can you? Because your respect for your team, and it's quite funny, and I love it when you always say to us, we asked Johnny David about his goal target, Tanny and also Promise David, what's your goal target for the season? And you know exactly the same. You would bat it off as much as you can. I just want to do my best every game and concentrate, because you don't want to upset the apple cart within your own dressing room. You want to try and keep everything right there. So you want to try to make sure that you're being respectful to your teammates, to your club, to your manager, coach, fans, while also knowing that you've got your ambitions where you want to go, and you're kind of focused within that, aren't you?
Do you think Ali Ahmed wins an MLS Cup, or tries to, and then maybe looks for that move in January, heading towards a World Cup? Or do you think that's almost... It's difficult, isn't it? Because do you stay in your situation where you know you're going to play, you know you can keep developing, or do you test yourself into a different environment and maybe get a move to Europe in January, with the World Cup being so close, when there's no guarantee that move is going to work out?
Yeah,
do you wait till after the World Cup?
It's a great point on that one. Sometimes you've got to strike while the iron's hot. I personally think the Whitecaps, as we've said constantly, should go deep into the playoffs this year and be serious contenders. I think it's going to be difficult for the Whitecaps to keep hold of him in January when that window opens. The European window will be open then. I think it's going to be very difficult. He has that decision to make. Do I want to go and sit on a bench somewhere and not necessarily get enough game time before the World Cup? That's a big decision. Now, there could also be an option, Luke, as well, where we've seen it in the past, where a team has signed a player, loan you back to your original club for 6 months.
Although the problem with that and MLS, and we touched with Richie Larea last week about maybe are you thinking of going somewhere for January, February on loan?
Yeah.
Because MLS season isn't going to start until the end of February, March, right? So who knows? But I mean, you wouldn't have wanted to. Would you have wanted to move? You said that ahead of that World Cup that you played in with Ireland, that was on your mind
from November when we qualified,
Right. Yeah. So would you have wanted to move clubs in the January and put that sort of confusion into the situation?
It depends what circumstances you're in with your club. If you're not playing...
Where were you then?
I was at Sunderland.
Right.
I was at Sunderland. Look, fortunate enough, I was
making
playing.
friends with all the fans.
Yeah, exactly, I was finding a lot of love up there. I just became solely focused on what was the end goal. The end goal to me was obviously the World Cup, but how I was going to get myself to that World Cup. And I had to play games, so I had to remain fully focused at Sunderland, because that's what's going to come. If you do that, if you do the basic things right and your day-to-day stuff right, everything else is going to fall into place. And that's kind of how I thought. I just got to be as fit as I can, prepare for every single game for Sunderland with that end goal for me at the World Cup. And I think that's what they have to think about. Just going back to your point, though, about does he want to go, move and not play games? I think you've got to back yourself a little bit as well.
Yeah.
If those moves come about and you've got an opportunity to go, you've got to be confident enough to say, I'm going to take that move, I'm going to go, and I'm going to be a starter in that team. Might not necessarily be in the first week or two, but you are going to be focusing.
Because the other thing is there are positives and negatives to waiting as well.
Yeah,
the move you want might not come back round again. Or you have a great World Cup and you might get an even bigger move or a different move. So there's so much that goes into it in a World Cup year.
But you would imagine with somebody like Ali Ahmed, if he were to move in January, again, not wanting to do disservice to Vancouver here, but if he were to move in January and he goes somewhere else, if he has a great World Cup, he could still go again anyway because of the level of club that he would probably be moving to in Europe if he was going to go to Europe. So there's so many, you say, ifs and buts, what can happen, what might. But I just think he's got to be, if he's got an option to go and Vancouver are happy with it and he's happy with it, sometimes you've just got to take it and you've got to, almost back yourself that you're going to go there and do a good job. Yeah,
well, we missed Stevie this week, didn't we?
We did.
I don't know how much.
Yeah. We were going to get James Duthie. We asked for James again, but unfortunately he was unavailable.
Seems to become a regular thing.
It is, yeah. Just couldn't get him in this week, so anyway.
Well, Stevie should be back next week, depending, I suppose, how the trip goes. We might never see him again.
Yeah.
Hopefully, though, if he does come back, he's had a haircut.
Yeah, he's in England and Germany this week, so if he has that haircut, he might have his own set barber. He's probably going to go back to Scotland just to get his haircut, just to go back up to Glasgow or something like that.
You know what? You say that, but when I moved over here in 2006, every time I used to go home, I used to go visit Barbara Allen.
Did you?
Oh, of course.
No way.
Yeah.
Did you?
Oh.
I don't bother about my hair that much, clearly.
Good old Barbara Allen in Dronfield. Yeah. What a guy. What a guy.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, another great episode of Park the Bus. Thanks to everybody for watching, and we'll be back next week, hopefully with Stevie.
Yeah.
This is Park the Bus with Stephen Caldwell, Kevin Kilbane, and Luke Wileman.